I never thought I could be this disposable to someone. Morning sunlight streamed across my face, but my heart felt frozen solid. I stood in the middle of Adan Quinn's penthouse, barefoot, wearing a wrinkled shirt, staring at my phone screen where only one word glared back at me: blocked. Yes, blocked. This man had blocked me after one night together, like I was spam cluttering his inbox. My breath hitched as I repeatedly dialed his number. Each attempt met with that cold, automated voice: "The number you are trying to reach is not available." Mac, did you actually believe this would be different? I whispered to myself, my voice hollow and shattered. Everything had unfolded so quickly. Just last night, Adan had been beside me, his deep voice whispering promises in my ear, his warm touch lingering on my skin, creating moments that now felt like cruel illusions. And now, only silence, only the deafening quiet of complete abandonment. I wandered through the room, desperately searching for something: a note, an explanation, anything proving what we shared had been real. But there was nothing. Just the faint scent of his expensive cologne mixing with my demolished dignity. I built a successful career as an event planner. I created perfect moments for other people, arranged their happiness, orchestrated their joy with meticulous precision. But my own happiness? It kept slipping through my fingers like sand. And Adan Quinn, the cold, powerful CEO, probably recognized my vulnerability that night at the charity gala when we first met. He had looked at me, talked to me like I actually mattered, like I was someone worth knowing, and then he invited me home. And I, foolish Mac, followed him because I thought maybe this connection was genuine. Maybe this time would be different from all the disappointments before. Is this actually happening? I asked myself, my voice cracking with disbelief. My hands trembled as I gathered my scattered clothes from the floor, trying desperately to maintain some shred of dignity in this humiliating moment. I held back my tears with fierce determination. Crying could wait for later. Right now, I needed to escape before anyone else witnessed my shame, before I became even more humiliated than I already felt. As the elevator descended smoothly, I replayed last night obsessively in my mind. Adan had seemed different at the charity gala. Approachable, almost vulnerable beneath his corporate armor. We had talked for hours about everything and nothing, sharing stories and dreams. He had laughed genuinely at my jokes about disastrous wedding planning incidents, listened intently to my aspirations, shared his own frustrations about the suffocating corporate world. There had been undeniable chemistry crackling between us, electric and impossible to ignore. When he invited me to his place, it felt natural, absolutely right. And when we kissed, when things escalated naturally, it felt like the beginning of something truly meaningful, not just another meaningless physical encounter. But clearly I had been catastrophically wrong. So very painfully wrong. The elevator doors opened to the building's pristine lobby, and I walked quickly past the doorman who politely nodded, completely oblivious to my internal devastation. Outside, the city was already alive with morning activity, people rushing to work, cars honking, the world continuing its relentless march forward while my own world had just collapsed entirely. I flagged down a taxi and gave my address mechanically, then collapsed against the worn seat. My phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. Morning meeting at 10. The Henderson wedding crisis needs immediate attention. Work. Normal life. Responsibilities that couldn't wait for heartbreak to heal. I typed back a quick confirmation, then stared out the taxi window at the passing streets. How did people do this? How did they continue functioning after being so thoroughly rejected, after feeling so completely worthless? When I finally reached my apartment, I stripped off yesterday's clothes and stood under a scalding shower, trying desperately to wash away the feeling of Adan's touch, the memory of his whispered words, the illusion of connection that had been so brutally shattered. But some stains go deeper than skin. Some memories refuse to wash away no matter how hard you scrub. I got dressed in fresh clothes, made strong coffee I couldn't actually drink, and sat at my kitchen table staring at nothing. My phone lay silent on the table, still blocked, still rejected, still worthless. I picked it up once, tempted to try calling again, then forced myself to set it down. Dignity. I still had that, barely. The rest of that day passed in a blur. I went to the office, handled the Henderson wedding crisis with mechanical efficiency, smiled at clients, made decisions, acted completely normal while feeling completely shattered inside. My assistant commented that I seemed tired. I blamed it on a late night, which was technically true, just not in the way she assumed. 2 months later, life had eventually taught me how to move forward, even when moving forward felt impossible. I was sitting in my event planning office, finalizing intricate details for next month's major corporate event, when my phone suddenly buzzed. Unknown number. I wanted to ignore it desperately. For 2 entire months, every unknown number had triggered memories of Adan, brought back that morning of complete rejection, but curiosity somehow won. Hello? Papa? My heart stopped beating entirely. A small voice, so innocent, so pure, had just called me Papa. Confusion flooded through me as my pen slipped from my fingers and clattered onto my desk. Papa, where are you? We miss you tremendously. That voice was so excited, so genuinely happy, that my throat tightened with unexpected emotion. Another voice came through the phone, slightly deeper but equally young and sweet. Brother, maybe we dialed the wrong number. But the first voice was stubbornly insistent. No, this is definitely Papa's number. I found it written in Daddy's private notebook when he went to the bathroom. I asked carefully, my heart racing wildly. Who are you, sweetheart? I'm Lian. And this is my twin brother, Rio. You're our Papa, right? Daddy looked at your picture so many times. We saw it secretly on his phone. My heart skipped several beats in rapid succession. Picture? Lian. Rio. Twins. And then they said something that completely shattered my already fragile world. Papa? Daddy stays sad all the time now. At night he often sits alone in his room looking at nothing. Please come back to us. We promise we'll behave really well. We'll even bake your favorite cookies. My hands started trembling violently as I gripped the phone. Daddy? Twins? Cookies? None of this made any logical sense whatsoever. Wait, what's your daddy's full name? I asked, though deep in my gut I already knew the devastating answer. A brief pause. Then that sweet, innocent voice answered, Adan Quinn. All my carefully suppressed anger, all my buried pain, all my desperate confusion exploded violently in that single moment. Adan had children? And they were calling me Papa like I belonged in their lives? Why had he blocked me so completely if he'd told his children about me? What kind of twisted situation was this? Papa? Are you still there listening? Rio's concerned voice pulled me back to reality. I closed my eyes tightly and took a deep, steadying breath. Yes, baby. I'm right here, so will you come visit us? Lian's voice was hopeful, almost pleading, and I didn't know why. Maybe burning curiosity, maybe their innocent voices touched something deep inside me, or maybe the desperate need to finally demand answers from Adan. But I heard myself say, yes, I'll come. I hadn't slept properly in 4 consecutive days. Lian and Rio called every single morning, exactly at 7 a.m. like perfectly synchronized clockwork. And each time, their voices cracked something fundamental inside me, because they called me Papa like I had always been an integral part of their lives. Like I had never abandoned them. But the devastating truth was I didn't even know them. These children, Adan Quinn's children, were a complete mystery wrapped in confusion. Today the phone rang again. 7 a.m. Precisely on time. I answered hesitantly, bracing myself. Papa? Good morning. Leon's cheerful voice launched my day, and as always, my chest tightened with complicated, overwhelming emotions. Morning, baby, I said automatically, and the endearment came out so naturally that it genuinely surprised me. I didn't know these children yet. This connection, this inexplicable pull felt so intensely real it was almost frightening. Rio's voice came through softly in the background, slower and noticeably sadder. Papa, are you coming today? Please? Daddy locked himself in his office again yesterday. He hasn't eaten anything proper since yesterday morning. We're getting really scared for him. My jaw clenched involuntarily. Adan, just hearing that name, made my blood boil with renewed anger. He had ghosted me completely, and now his children were desperately calling me back. And what was this about him not eating properly? What kind of twisted psychological game was this man playing? Papa, please listen. Lion's voice cracked emotionally, and I could clearly hear he was close to crying. We're so incredibly lonely here. Daddy always works constantly. He did before too, but now he doesn't even talk to us properly anymore. And we just want to talk to you. You're different from everyone else. You talk to us like we're genuinely special and important. Pain shot through my chest sharply. These children, these innocent, sweet children, what did they possibly know about who I really was? That I wasn't any kind of hero? That I was just a foolish guy their daddy had used for one single night and then discarded like worthless trash. But there was raw desperation in their voices that was systematically tearing me apart inside. And maybe I desperately needed answers too. I needed to confront Adan and demand explanations for what all this meant. Okay, I finally whispered, making my decision absolutely firm. I'll come today, but don't tell Daddy yet. It'll be a complete surprise. Yay! Papa's really coming. Leanne shouted excitedly, and I could hear their genuine happiness radiating through the phone. Rio said softly, his voice trembling with emotion. Thank you so much, Papa. We love you tremendously. After the call ended abruptly, I sat on my bed holding my phone tightly. This entire situation was completely surreal. But I was definitely going not just for these mysterious children, but for myself too. Adan Quinn owed me comprehensive explanations. For absolutely everything. 2 hours later, I stood outside Adan's impressive mansion, my heart racing wildly out of control. This place wasn't just wealthy, it was genuinely intimidating. High security gates, numerous surveillance cameras positioned everywhere like a military fortress, and a striking structure of gleaming white marble and reflective glass that resembled an ice palace, cold, distant, and completely unwelcoming. Just like Adan himself. I was about to press the intercom button when the gate suddenly opened automatically. Maybe the children had spotted me on the security cameras. Papa! 2 small figures ran toward me at full speed. Leanne and Rio, identical twins, probably 5 or 6 years old. Their brown curls bounced in the bright sunlight, bright eyes filled with pure excitement, and contagious smiles that instantly broke down all my carefully constructed defenses. Everything was so emotionally overwhelming that for a second I completely forgot to breathe. They both clung desperately to my legs like I was truly their papa, like they had known me their entire lives. Papa, you actually came. We thought maybe you were lying to us. Lion was shouting happily, his small face pressed against my jacket. Rio was slightly more shy, but his eyes held that same intense warmth. We thought you wouldn't really come. Many people make promises to us and then they never actually come. That heartbreaking line completely destroyed me. Emotionally. It meant these innocent children had been disappointed before by adults. I hugged them gently, their small bodies warm and real against me. I'm here right now, babies, and I always keep my promises faithfully. And then, a voice. Cold. Sharp. Painfully familiar. The voice that had haunted my restless dreams. What the hell are you doing here? I slowly looked up, steeling myself. Adan Quinn. He stood at the mansion's main entrance, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, his jaw clenched so tightly I could see the muscle working, and his dark eyes boring into me like I was a dangerous intruder, like I was some kind of threat. But for one fleeting second, just one vulnerable second, I saw genuine shock flash in his eyes. Raw, unfiltered shock, like he never expected me to actually return. My heart stopped beating entirely. There he was, the same person who had used me carelessly, who had abandoned me like I was absolutely nothing. But these children, these precious children, were calling me Papa. Something was very, very wrong here. Daddy, this is Papa, Leon said happily, holding my hand with his small fingers. We called him ourselves. Adan's face went completely pale. His eyes widened like he'd witnessed a ghost materializing. You. His voice was barely a whisper, cracking at the edges. How did you get their contact information? From your private notebook, Rio admitted innocently. You went to the bathroom and we looked. Rio. Adan's voice was sharp and commanding, but then he visibly controlled himself when he saw Rio flinch backward. He took a deep breath. Go inside. Both of you. Immediately. But Daddy. Now. Go. The twins looked at me questioningly, confusion and hurt swimming in their eyes. I gently reassured them with a smile. It's perfectly okay, babies. I need to have a serious talk with your daddy. Grown-up conversation. I'll come inside very soon, I promise. Reluctantly, they went inside slowly, looking back repeatedly with worried expressions. And then, silence. Awkward, heavy silence that felt suffocating. Adan finally moved, his steps slow and carefully measured. He came closer, but his eyes still deliberately avoided mine, like looking at me caused physical pain. You need to leave immediately, he said in a cold tone, though I could detect a slight tremor underneath. Right now, my anger exploded violently. 2 months of accumulated pain, humiliation, confusion, everything came pouring out uncontrollably. Leave? Your children called me here. They dialed my number. You ghosted me completely, Adan. Blocked me without any explanation whatsoever. And now you're ordering me to leave like I'm some kind of problem? Like I'm some... I don't owe you any explanation. His voice was icy, defensive, but I could see something else lurking in his eyes when he finally looked at me. Guilt? Fear? Pain? No. I stood my ground firmly, challenging his intimidating height. But you definitely owe me an explanation about your children. Why are they calling me Papa? Where did they see my picture? And why did you block me if you told them about me? Adan finally looked directly at me. And in that raw moment, I saw the pain in his eyes that he was desperately trying to hide. Raw, unfiltered agony. Because, he said slowly, each word struggling painfully to emerge, they saw your picture on my phone. Before I deleted everything. I was drunk, Mac, after that night, and I was staring at your pictures obsessively, and they saw everything. They asked about you and I told them that you were special. My heart stopped completely. What? Adan refused to look at me, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. We were in the Quinn estate's living room, a massive space that belonged in architectural magazines, but somehow felt emotionally empty and cold. Leon and Rio sat on the floor on either side of me, their small fingers gripping my hands like I might suddenly vanish. And Adan, he stood rigidly by the fireplace, his posture stiff, his jaw locked tight, and his eyes anywhere except on me. He was deliberately avoiding me, and every passing second made that distance more painfully obvious. This whole situation was completely surreal. I was sitting in the house of the man who had ghosted me, and his children were calling me Papa like this was all perfectly normal. Nothing made any logical sense. But one thing was crystal clear. These children desperately wanted me here. Papa, look at this. Leon placed his drawing in front of me, bouncing with excitement. This is you, and this is us. And this is Daddy. And this is our whole house. The drawing showed 4 stick figures, a family all holding hands in front of a big house. My throat tightened painfully because Leon had included me in that picture like I naturally belonged there. Rio said quietly, sadness heavy in his voice. We missed you so much, Papa. We looked at your picture every single day when Daddy fell asleep. He deleted it from his phone, but we secretly saved it on our tablet. Babies. My voice cracked emotionally. Why were these children so intensely attached to me? I'm not. Ian. Rio. Go upstairs. To your room. Immediately. Adan's voice was sharp and commanding, cutting through the moment like a blade. The twins looked at me like they were asking permission, their eyes wide and confused. I smiled gently, patting their heads reassuringly. It's perfectly okay, sweethearts. I'm staying right here. I'm not going anywhere. Your daddy needs to discuss something important with me. Grown-up talk. You promise? Rio asked cautiously, his small hand still gripping my finger. I promise completely, baby. I reassured him. Reluctantly, they went upstairs slowly, looking back repeatedly like they were terrified I'd disappear. And then, silence. Heavy, suffocating silence pressing down on both of us. Adan finally moved. He approached me with slow, measured steps, but still his eyes avoided mine deliberately. He leaned against a nearby chair's arm, maintaining distance. You need to leave, he said in a cold tone, though I could hear exhaustion underneath. This isn't right. My anger exploded again. I stood up quickly, close enough that he couldn't ignore me. Leave? Your children called me here. You ghosted me, Adan. You blocked me without giving any reason. And now you're telling me to leave like I'm some kind of problem? Like I'm— Stop talking. Adan's voice was low but intensely powerful. He suddenly came closer into my personal space, and for the first time he looked into my eyes. Directly, painfully. I don't owe you any explanation for that night. No, I said coldly, matching his intensity perfectly, but you owe me an explanation about your children. Why are they calling me Papa? Why did they save my picture? And what did you tell them about me? Adan finally reluctantly looked at me, properly looked. And in that moment, I saw the pain in his eyes that he was desperately trying to hide. Guilt, regret, fear, all mixed together. Because, he said slowly, each word painfully honest, that night I wasn't just physically attracted to you, Mac. I was desperately lonely. So incredibly lonely. And when we talked, when you looked at me like I wasn't just a CEO, wasn't just a father, like I was simply a person, I told you about my life, about my children, about my struggles. I told you things I never tell anyone. He paused, his jaw clenching hard. And the next morning when I sobered up and realized how vulnerable I'd been, how much I'd opened up, I panicked completely. I thought if you came into my life and then realized how complicated everything is, how complicated I am, you'd leave. And my children, they've already lost so much. I couldn't let them get attached to you and then lose you too. So I'd leave too. I completed his sentence, suddenly understanding, like their mother did. Adan's face twisted like my words had physically hurt him. He moved back toward the chair, his hand running over his face, exhausted, defeated. Their mother, Katie, she left when they were 2 years old, he said quietly, a rawness in his voice. She didn't say she was overwhelmed or that she needed help. One day she was there, the next day she wasn't. Just left a note, I can't do this. That's it. My children lost their mother without any explanation. And I promised myself I'd never let them feel that pain again. My chest tightened painfully. Suddenly everything made perfect sense. Adan's walls, his cold behavior, his obsessive control, his blocking me, it was all protection. Not for himself, for his children. I'm not her, Adan, I said carefully, moving closer but not touching him. I'm not Katie. He looked at me, tears threatening in his eyes but holding them back. How do I know that, Mac? How do I trust that? My children are already attached to you. Did you see? They saw you once and completely opened up. And if you leave too, how can I let them go through that pain again? Because, I took his hand gently, letting him feel my presence. I'm here, Adan, even after you blocked me, even after you pushed me away, even after you hurt me. I'm here, and I promise you, give me one chance. Just one. Let me prove I'm trustworthy. Adan's fingers trembled in my hand. He was looking at me like he was in some internal war with himself, with his fears. And then, in a desperate moment, he pulled me close tight, like he was drowning and I was his last hope. His face buried in my shoulder, his breath warm and uneven. Don't leave them, he whispered in my ear, his voice breaking. Please, if you don't care about me, that's fine. But don't leave them. They deserve a papa who will love them unconditionally. My heart shattered completely. This man, this powerful, cold CEO was completely broken in front of me, begging only for his children's happiness. I won't leave, I said firmly, hugging him back. I promise. To Lian and Rio. And to you too. Adan's body relaxed against mine, like he'd finally allowed someone to share his burden. We stood there, two strangers who had met one night, reconnected because of two innocent children, trying to figure out what this complicated mess meant. And in that moment, I realized, this wasn't just attraction. This was something deeper. Something real. Something terrifying. From upstairs, Lian's voice called out, Daddy, Papa, we're hungry. Adan quickly composed himself, stepping back from me, his mask sliding back into place. But I had seen the vulnerability in his eyes, and I knew that mask wouldn't stay permanent anymore. I'll make dinner, I offered. Adan looked at me surprised. You cook? I smirked. I'm an event planner, Adan. I know how to do everything, including cooking for picky eaters. And when he finally smiled, small, hesitant, but real, my heart did a strange flip. Maybe, maybe this could work after all. I sat in Leon and Rio's room 3 days later, holding their favorite storybook, a tale about a dragon and a prince that was surprisingly sweet. Papa, will you always come see us? Rio looked at me with his big, innocent eyes, his small hand gripping my arm. My heart melted the way it always did when these two asked me questions. Yes, baby, I promise. Every single day. Leanne squeezed my hand, his voice carrying a hint of sadness. Make Daddy happy too, Papa. He's always sad. Even when he smiles, his eyes stay sad. We notice everything. I nodded slowly, my chest tightening. These children were so observant, so emotionally intelligent for their age, and it was hurting them that their father was hurting. I'll try my best, Leanne. That's a promise. Rio whispered sleepily. Daddy likes you a lot. We can hear him at night thinking about you. He says your name when he thinks we're asleep. My breath caught. Adan said my name? When he was alone? I finished the story and both children fell asleep peacefully. I tucked them in carefully, kissed their foreheads lightly, and quietly left the room. When I came downstairs, Adan sat in the living room with a glass of whiskey in his hand. But he hadn't drunk any yet. He just stared at the glass as if it held answers to questions he couldn't voice. They're asleep, I said quietly, keeping my tone casual. Adan set the glass on the table carefully. Thanks. You're really good with them. Awkward silence stretched between us. I was about to leave. It had become routine. I'd make dinner, spend time with the children, then leave before things got complicated when he spoke. Wait. I stopped, my hand on the doorknob. Why are you doing this? He asked, his voice strained and confused. He stood up, turning toward me. Why are you spending time with my children when you should hate me? When I hurt you? I looked at him, this complicated broken man, who desperately needed to maintain control. Because they're innocent, Adan. And they chose me. Even though you rejected me. And honestly, I've gotten attached to them. They're amazing. Adan's face twisted as if my words physically hurt him, as if guilt was crashing over him in waves. I didn't reject you, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I was terrified. I still am. Terrified of what? My voice grew louder, frustration bleeding through. That I'll complicate your perfectly controlled life? That cracks will appear in your walls? That you'll actually have to feel something? Yes. Adan suddenly stood, his voice raised for the first time. I control my life because if I don't, everything will collapse. My children, my business, my sanity, everything. And you, he stopped, his chest heaving. What about me, Adan? I challenged, moving closer. Adan looked at me, his eyes raw and vulnerable, his defenses finally crumbling. You make me feel like I can feel again. Like I'm not just a machine, and I can't afford that. Feeling leads to pain. Pain leads to mistakes. And mistakes lead to growth. Adan, I interrupted softly. Have you ever considered that maybe you should feel pain so you can actually heal? He turned his face away, jaw clenched. I can't. Why not? Because the last time I let someone close, his voice broke. And for the first time I saw tears in his eyes. She abandoned my children. Katie didn't just leave me. She left Leanne and Rio. Their biological mother walked away like they were nothing. And they still cry for her at night. They still ask if they did something wrong. And I can't let them feel that pain again. Pain shot through my chest. Suddenly everything was crystal clear. Adan's walls, his cold behavior, his obsessive control. Blocking me, it was all protection. Not love. Terror. I stepped into his personal space carefully. I'm not Katie, Adan. I can't promise I'll be perfect or that I'll never make mistakes. But I can promise I won't deliberately hurt anyone. Not you. Not Leanne. Not Rio. And I'm here, right now. Standing in front of you. Not running away. Adan looked at me, tears finally falling, and for the first time he was completely vulnerable. No mask. No walls. Just a terrified father who wanted to protect his children and a broken man learning to trust again. How do I believe you? He whispered, his voice cracking. Because, I cupped his face gently. Tenderly, I'll give you time. I'll prove myself. Every single day. Until you believe me. Adan's hands came to my wrists, holding on like I was his anchor. And then slowly, hesitantly he kissed me soft, desperate, full of fear and hope intertwined. When we pulled apart, he whispered, "Please don't abandon them." "I won't," I promised firmly. "Never." And in that moment something shifted. This wasn't just about the twins anymore. This was about us. Adan and Mac, trying to heal together. 2 weeks later, I came to Quinn Estate almost every day now. It had become routine. I'd arrive in the morning, drop Lian and Rio at school. Adan sometimes came along, silently observing. Then I'd work remotely and return in the evening for dinner. And Adan? He was slowly, painfully slowly, letting me into his life. He was still guarded, still cautious, but now he talked to me. Real conversations. About his business, about his struggles, about his fears. We were becoming something. I couldn't say exactly what, but it was real. But then, one phone call changed everything. I was at the park with Lian and Rio, pushing them on the swings when my phone rang. Unknown number. Again, "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Is this Mac?" A female voice, sharp, cold, calculated. "Yes. Who is this?" "My name is Katie Blake. I'm Lian and Rio's biological mother, and I think we need to talk." My blood ran cold. Katie, the woman who had abandoned them. I glanced at Lian and Rio, who were playing happily, completely oblivious. "Why are you calling me?" I asked in a low voice, moving away so the children wouldn't hear. "Because I'm coming to take my sons back," she said matter-of-factly, like it was a casual decision. "I've been working on myself. Therapy, medication, and now I'm ready to take them back. They need their real mother, not some random man playing house with my ex." My jaw clenched. "You've been gone for 3 years. You abandoned them." "I was sick," she snapped. "Postpartum depression. And now I'm better. So I'm exercising my legal rights. I'm coming to Quinn Estate tomorrow. And I'll be talking to Adan." "You're just a phase, Mac. I'm their mother." The call ended abruptly. My hands were shaking. Katie had returned, and she wanted the twins back. I immediately called Adan. "Mac, is everything okay?" His voice was concerned. "Adan," Katie called. "She's coming tomorrow. She wants the twins back." Silence. Dead, terrifying silence. Then, "What?" His voice was barely a whisper, filled with shock and horror. "She said she's ready. That she's been in therapy. And now she—" "No." Adan's voice suddenly became strong, firm. "No. She can't take them. I won't allow it. Adan, if she has legal grounds." "I don't care," he almost yelled, and I could hear panic in his voice. "She's been gone for 3 years, Mac. 3 years. She never checked if they were okay. And now suddenly she wants to be a mother? No. I can't lose them. I can't." His voice broke completely. "Adan, breathe," I said calmly. "We'll handle this together. Okay? Promise?" His voice was small, vulnerable like a child's. "Promise. I'm coming over. Right now." Adan was pacing in his study when I arrived after putting the twins to bed following dinner. He looked completely wrecked, hair disheveled from running his hands through it repeatedly, tie loosened, eyes red from stress and unshed tears. "Adan," I said gently, closing the door behind me. He came to me quickly, desperately, and hugged me tightly like I was his only anchor in this storm. "I can't lose them, Mac," he whispered against my shoulder. "They're my entire life. If Katie takes them, I won't survive without them. I won't." My heart shattered. I held him tight, one hand running through his hair, soothingly. "You won't lose them. I promise. We'll fight. Legally, emotionally, every way possible. Okay?" He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "How, Mac? She's their biological mother. The court will side with her." "Not necessarily," I interrupted. "She abandoned them for 3 years. Adan, you raised them. You gave them unconditional love. You fulfilled their every need. And now they have me too. We're a family. The court will see that. But we're not. Adan hesitated. We're not officially anything, Mac. Legally, you're just a friend. I cupped his face, forcing him to look at me. Then let's make it official. Adan looked shocked. What? The court needs to see that the twins are in a stable, loving environment. That they have two parents who love them unconditionally. So, I took a deep breath. Let's make our relationship official. Real. Legal if necessary. Mac. Are you doing this for me? Adan's voice cracked. No, I said honestly. I'm doing this for Leanne and Rio. And for myself too. Because Adan, these past 3 weeks, they've been real. Being with you, being with the children. It's all been real for me, and I don't want this to end. Adan kissed me, desperate, grateful, real. When we pulled apart, he whispered, "Thank you. Thank you so much. We're in this together," I said firmly. "Tomorrow when Katie comes, we'll be ready. And we'll win." Next morning, Katie arrived at Quinn Estate, perfectly dressed in designer clothes, hair immaculate, makeup flawless. She had an expensive-looking lawyer with her, but her eyes were cold, calculating. Leanne and Rio hid behind me in the living room, confused and scared. Leanne. Rio. "Come here, babies," Katie said sweetly, with a fake smile, arms open. Leanne gripped my hand tightly. "Papa. Who is she?" Katie's face twisted. "Papa? Excuse me, who the hell are you?" Adan stepped forward, standing beside me protectively. "He's their papa, and they asked you a question. So answer them." Katie forced a smile. "I'm your mommy, babies. Remember? I was away for a while, but now I'm back." Rio said loudly, bravely. "You're not our mommy. We have Papa and Daddy. We don't know you." Katie was shocked. Clearly she hadn't expected the children to reject her. But then she smiled coldly, cruel and calculated. "They're children. They don't understand. But the court will. Adan, I want shared custody. Actually, I want primary custody. You've done a lot, thank you. But now it's time for them to be with their real mother." Adan's jaw clenched. "You don't get to decide that. You left, Katie. You chose to walk away. No calls, no visits, no child support, nothing. For 3 years. I was sick, and if you were sick, you could have asked for help." Adan's voice rose. "But you abandoned them like they were disposable. And now you're back because what? Guilt? Or something else?" Katie's lawyer intervened. "Mr. Quinn, my client was suffering from severe postpartum depression, a medically recognized condition. She's been in therapy on medication and now she's stable. The court will consider this. And the court will also consider," I said, stepping forward, "that Miss Blake deliberately chose abandonment. Seeking therapy is commendable, but that doesn't automatically make her a fit parent. Leanne and Ree are in a stable, loving home. Uprooting them will cause trauma." Katie looked at me venomously. "And who exactly are you?" "Adan's latest fling. You have no legal standing." "I'm their papa," I said calmly, "and I'm becoming their legal guardian. Adan and I are in a committed relationship. This is in the twins' best interest." Katie laughed, harsh and mocking. "Committed? You two have been together for what, a few weeks? The court won't take this seriously." "But the court will take seriously," Adan said, handing a file to her lawyer, "that you didn't pay child support, that you're financially unstable. Yes, we investigated your recent bankruptcy, almost, and suddenly you want custody. Doesn't that seem suspicious?" Katie's face turned red. "How dare you?" "We'll see you in court, Miss Blake," I said firmly. "And when the judge asks Leanne and Rio where they want to live, the answer will be clear." Katie stormed out, her lawyer following. But she said threateningly, "See you in court." After the door closed, Adan collapsed emotionally. Not literally, but I could see it. I held him and the twins came around us. "Daddy, Papa, will that woman take us away?" Leanne asked fearfully. "No, baby," Adan said firmly. "Never. I promise." And when he looked into my eyes, I knew this battle had just begun. 3 days later, the tension in our makeshift family had been unbearable. Adan barely slept, constantly reviewing legal documents. I stayed with him every night, helping however I could. "What if we lose?" he asked one night. his voice breaking. What if the judge sides with her because she's their biological mother? Then we appeal, I said firmly, and we keep fighting. But Adan, listen to me. Those children love you. They love us. That has to count for something. He looked at me with such vulnerability. I'm scared, Mac. More scared than I've ever been. I know, I whispered, holding him close. But you're not alone. Not anymore. The next morning our lawyer called with news. The court date is set, 1 week from today. And Mac, they want to interview the children privately. That's actually good for us. Kids rarely lie about their feelings. 1 week. We had 1 week to prepare for the fight of our lives. I spent every moment with Lingine and Rio, not telling them about the court case but making sure they felt loved, secure, safe. Adan watched us sometimes, and I could see the fear and hope warring in his eyes. They adore you, he said one evening after the twins were asleep. I've never seen them this happy, even before Katie left. They adore you too, I reminded him. You're an incredible father, Adan. Don't ever forget that. He kissed me then, deep, meaningful, full of unspoken promises, and I realized something profound. I wasn't just fighting for the twins anymore. I was fighting for us, for this family we were building from broken pieces. The night before court, neither of us could sleep. We lay in his bed, holding each other. Whatever happens tomorrow, I whispered. We face it together. Together, he repeated, and in that word I heard everything. His fear, his hope, his love. Tomorrow would change everything. For better or worse, our family would never be the same. The courtroom was cold, sterile, and intimidating, but my resolve was solid as steel. Katie sat across the aisle with her lawyer, confident, composed, like she already knew she'd win. Dressed perfectly in a designer suit, hair styled immaculately, makeup subtle but effective. She was playing the part, the reformed mother, the victim of mental illness, the woman who deserved a second chance. And us? Adan sat beside me, his hand resting on my thigh. Not romantic but grounding. He was drawing strength from me and I was giving it freely, because this wasn't just about his children anymore. This was about us. About our family. All rise, the bailiff announced. The judge entered, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She settled in and immediately began reviewing the case files. Blake versus Quinn. Custody case regarding minors Adan Quinn and Rio Quinn. The judge said professionally, Ms. Blake, you're petitioning for joint custody with potential primary custody. Mr. Quinn, you're opposing, correct? Yes, Your Honor, both lawyers confirmed. The judge looked at Katie. Miss Blake, present your case. Katie stood poised, rehearsed. Your Honor, I admit I made a mistake. 3 years ago when my sons were born, I was suffering from severe postpartum depression. I was emotionally and mentally unstable. I made a painful decision. I left because I felt my presence was hurting my children. I didn't want to create a toxic environment for them. She paused, fake tears gathering in her eyes. But over the past 3 years, I've been in therapy. I've been on medication. I've healed myself. And now I'm ready to be present for my children. They deserve to know their mother. And I deserve to have my sons back. The judge nodded thoughtfully. Mr. Quinn, your response. Adan stood, his voice controlled but intense. Your Honor, I respect mental health struggles. But Ms. Blake abandoned my sons. 3 years of zero contact, zero financial support, zero effort to check on them. Not even one phone call. And suddenly now she wants custody. He paused. Your Honor, I've been raising Leanne and Rio alone. I'm their sole provider. Financially, emotionally, physically, I fulfill their every need. And now they also have Mac, he gestured toward me, who loves them unconditionally, and is a stable, loving parental figure. Katie's lawyer immediately objected. Your Honor, Mr. Quinn and this Mac have no legal relationship. This is just a recent fling being used to influence the custody battle. Objection, Your Honor. Our lawyer, a sharp woman named Ms. Rivera, stood up. Mr. Quinn and Mac are in a committed relationship, and legally Mr. Quinn has filed paperwork to declare Mac as co-guardian for Leanne and Rio pending approval. This isn't a fling. This is a genuine family structure. The judge looked at me with interest. Mr. Mac, would you like to take the stand? I was shocked but quickly recovered. Yes, Your Honor. I went to the witness stand and took the oath. The judge asked directly, "Mr. Mack, how long have you known Leon and Rio?" "Almost 2 months, Your Honor," I answered honestly. "And why do they call you Papa?" "Because they chose me," I said simply. "Your Honor, I'm an event planner. I create happiness for people, weddings, celebrations. But when Leon and Rio called me 2 months ago, when they invited me into their lives, I realized that real happiness is this: giving and receiving unconditional love. I didn't know them initially, but now I can't imagine my life without them." "And your relationship with Mr. Quinn?" I looked at Adan. "It had a complicated start, Your Honor. But now we're partners, co-parents. And I love him." Whispers filled the courtroom. Adan's eyes widened. Emotional. The judge nodded. "And if Ms. Blake receives custody, what will you do?" "I'll fight, Your Honor," I said firmly. "Because uprooting Leanne and Rio will traumatize them. They're happy, they're safe, and they want to stay in their current life. They have the right to meet their biological mother's supervised visits, but they shouldn't be forced to live with a stranger." Katie stood angrily. "I'm not a stranger. I'm their mother." "Order." The judge gave. The judge looked at Katie seriously. "Miss Blake, your intentions may be commendable, but the facts are that you maintained no contact for 3 years. Therapy and recovery are important, but they don't automatically make you a fit parent. I need evidence that you're stable." Katie's lawyer quickly presented files. "Your Honor, these are my client's therapy records. Employment verification." "Employment?" Adan interrupted. "Your Honor, according to our investigation, Miss Blake recently went through bankruptcy. And miraculously, now she suddenly has a job and wants custody. The timeline is suspicious." The judge reviewed the files seriously. "Miss Blake, are you financially stable?" Katie hesitated. I just started a new job. But I'm working. A 2-week-old job." Adan exposed. "Your Honor, this is desperation, not planning." The judge nodded thoughtfully. "I want to speak with the twins personally. In my chambers. Privately." Leon and Rio sat before the judge. Tiny, nervous but brave. Adan and I waited outside. Anxious. The judge asked gently, trying to make the children comfortable, "So Leon, Rio, tell me, where do you want to live?" Both immediately shook their heads. "No. You don't want to live with your mommy?" Leon said seriously. "We don't know her, Judge ma'am. She's a stranger." Rio added, "We already have Daddy and Papa. They love us. Every day. They never leave us." The judge smiled gently. "You think Papa loves you?" Both nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. Papa makes our favorite pancakes. And he listens to our stories. And he makes Daddy happy too." "Makes Daddy happy?" Leon said innocently. "Yes. Daddy was very sad before Papa came. But now he smiles. Real smiles. We see it." The judge took notes. Clearly moved. "And if I told you to live with that lady, Miss Blake?" Tears came to Rio's eyes. "Please no, Judge ma'am. Please. We want to stay here. With Papa and Daddy. Please don't send us away." The judge's expression softened. "Okay, babies. You won't be sent anywhere. I promise." The judge was serious as she prepared to deliver the verdict. "After reviewing all evidence, testimonies, and especially speaking personally with the twins, my decision is this." Katie leaned forward. Hopeful. "Full custody remains with Adan Quinn." Katie's face fell, shock and anger mixing together. "Miss Blake, you will be granted supervised visitation rights if and only if Leanne and Rio agree. This will be their choice. Primary guardianship remains with Mr. Quinn and..." The judge looked at me. "Co-guardianship is granted to Mr. Mack pending final paperwork approval." My heart exploded with relief and joy. Adan hugged me tight. Overwhelming grateful. "We won," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. The twins ran in from outside the courtroom, where they'd been deliberately kept during the verdict. "Papa, Daddy, we won." Katie silently walked out, defeated, her lawyer with her. But honestly, I didn't care. Our family was safe. The twins were sleeping peacefully, exhausted from the emotional day. Adan and I stood on the balcony, city lights twinkling below us, a cool breeze calming. "I can never thank you enough," Adan whispered, holding my hand. I turned his face toward me. his features soft and vulnerable in the moonlight. Don't thank me. This, this was for me too. Leon, Rio, they've become my family. And you, I paused, feeling vulnerable. You're my partner, my everything. Tears came to Adan's eyes. In court, you said you love me. Yes, I admitted honestly. I do. Maybe it happened fast. Maybe it's unconventional. But it's real. Adan kissed me slow, deep, full of promise and commitment. When we pulled apart, he whispered against my lips. I love you too, Mac, so much. Life had settled beautifully. I had officially moved into Quinn Estate. Leon and Rio were thriving in school, and every night we had family dinners, real conversations, laughter, love. Katie occasionally came for supervised visits, and the twins were gradually warming to her. Healing was slow, but it was happening. And Adan? He was finally smiling, genuinely freely. One night, after the children were asleep, Adan called me to the living room. Mac, I have something for you, he said nervously. I was curious. What? He pulled out a small box. Velvet. Elegant. My breath caught. Mac, Adan said. Vulnerable and sincere. You changed my life. You gave my children unconditional love. You taught me to trust again. And I don't want this to ever end. So, he opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. Will you marry me? Officially? Legally? Forever? Tears filled my eyes. Yes. Yes, Adan. 1,000 times yes. He kissed me, and in that moment, everything was perfect. Leon called sleepily from the stairs. Rio with him. Papa, Daddy, what's happening? I smiled. Our family is becoming even more official, babies. Rio asked excitedly. You mean a wedding? Yes, sweetheart. Both cheered and ran to us. And that night we were all together. Broken pieces transformed into a perfect family.